Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sparrow Day Online. And if you're part of Sparrow Day Nashville, I just want to say I miss you a ton. I miss not seeing you in the schools. Hopefully we'll be together soon. And if you're part of Sparrow Day Online, you've kind of been discovering who Sparrow Day is just as we've been broadcasting our services here on Facebook and YouTube. I also want to welcome you. And so Sparrow Day is a new church. We're only 18 months old in Nashville, and we are kind of reimagining Christianity in new ways. And so, for a bunch of us, kind of the current popular form of Christianity, it wasn't working for a number of us. We're not saying anything's wrong with that, or we're not saying we're better, nothing like that. Man, if it's working for you, gosh, press on. But for a number of us, it wasn't. So that's how Sparrow Day began. So if you're part of Sparrow Day Nashville, Sparrow Day Online, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm David Perez, and I'm the lead minister here at Sparrow Day. Well, we are all together because of this weird COVID-19 social distancing, stay safe, stay at home kind of deal. And suddenly we're in this place where, like, I'm with my family. I love being with my family. I love being home with my family. But then it's juxtaposed against all of this weirdness of the coronavirus, and when are we going to go back to work? How's the economy going to do? Am I going to get COVID-19? Is somebody I love going to get it? And so it's a very uncertain, what I'm calling an edgy time. So the last couple of weeks I've been talking about, well, how do we live spiritually centered? How do we live spiritually grounded in this very edgy time? And so there are a number of secrets to living centered spiritually, but one of those secrets I want to share with you today, and it's specifically about learning to live present. Now, recently I was on my way to the office, and I passed a carload of nuns, like a Honda Accord full of nuns, black habits, the big white robes, the whole bit. And as I was passing their little compact car, it was packed with nuns. They were all laughing. In fact, there was a very giddy one in the back. And I was thinking, why so much joy from the compact car full of nuns? What is this joy that's wafting out of their vehicle, crossing the lane, and then coming into my car? Because as I passed them and watched the joy in the nunmobile, I was smiling myself. And I go, because you gotta admit, what's better than a Honda Accord full of happy nuns? That's kind of great, right? And so I was thinking, okay, why are they laughing so much? Maybe they're telling themselves the latest rendition of their own career iconic joke. They're telling the latest rendition of, hey, have you heard about the two nuns that walked into a bar? And they got a new version of it. It made them laugh. Or there's this little joke rap they got going. And so as I passed them, I was just struck. It was brief at the joy in their car, and I drove all the way to the office. I had about another 10 minutes to go. I just drove just smiling. And I thought, boy, the presence they had with each other, at that present moment, it was a wonderful thing to see, and it struck me. And as I said, one of the keys to living centered spiritually, especially in this very edgy time, is very much living grounded and living spiritually centered. And presence is key with that. So I want to share just a few things about how maybe we can awaken more to a greater spiritual presence that how in this edgy time we can live with more calm, more peace, right? And presence with God. So there's this wonderful story in the New Testament. It's a brief story, but it really speaks to this. And the story is so brief that you may even miss it. But here's the story real quick. Jesus wanders into this town where he has two friends. It's two sisters, and they're holding a dinner party. And the sisters' names are Mary and Martha. And we get this sense that Jesus is sitting in the living room and he's chatting, he's teaching. And the one sister, Mary, is sitting on the floor of the house listening to him. And it seems like there's people around and Jesus is teaching or sharing. But Martha is she's running the place. She's distracted with pulling the whole thing off, cooking the meal, serving it everybody. And she starts to get frustrated watching her sister Mary just be very present in this party. So at one point there's a break in the evening and she pulls Jesus aside and she says, "Hey, do you think maybe you could mention to Mary that, she'd get in here and help me and serve with me?" And Jesus just reads her and he reads the moment. And he says, "Mary, you are anxious." And not just about what's happening here. You just have anxiety in life and you're living with you're distracted by it. Mary is in there and she is completely free and undistracted. She's not in that at all. She's just in the moment of presence, and she's there. And then he says to Martha, he goes, "I can't take that away from her." And so many times when this story gets taught by people in my job, it gets reduced to funny Christian terms like lordship or obedience. Mary understood the lordship of Jesus, and so she sat at his feet and she was obedient to that. And Martha didn't. Martha was concerned about her own life and disobedient, and she didn't understand lordship. I think the story is much more nuanced than that. When he turns to Martha and goes, "Martha, Mary understands the good part of what is happening there," he's saying the good part is she is just present. She's free to love. She's free to be in the moment. She's free to experience the joy. She's free of worry and anxiety. She's centered in it. And so now look at Martha. What was she doing? Was she doing something bad? Was she planning a bank heist, or I'm going to bring Rome down? No, Mary was actually Martha was doing a good thing. She was pulling the party off. There's nothing wrong with that. But Mary was free and present. Recently I was with a good mentor friend, and I was being vulnerable with him about some things from my childhood. And I was sharing with him, he was asking me, we're discussing some memories from childhood. And I said, I really don't have too many memories of, our family dynamic where the people in my family enjoyed me or delighted in me or talked with me. I have memories of being talked to, and I have memories of being talked at, and there wasn't meanness. There wasn't a lot of meanness in my home. I was telling him I just don't have memories where I remember there was a lot of delight in who I was. Well, across the street, there was an elderly couple that did enjoy me. They would have me over, and they would cook my favorite food, and they'd let me tell funny stories, and they would laugh at my jokes. And my memory of them is they just enjoyed me. Now, I'm well aware, especially in our culture, kind of older grandparent types taking in a little kid that's not theirs is kind of weird, and there can be a lot of weirdness there. But this didn't have any of that weirdness. These were just kind people. And as I was sharing this with my friend, he stopped me right in the middle of it, and he goes, David, look at your face. And I go, what? He goes, you're just enveloped in this smile. And he goes, I want you to stay right in this moment. Don't lose this moment. Stay right in this moment. And why I love this mentor friend is he helps get to my inner core, my emotional self. I can stay up in my head a lot, thinking thoughts and stuff. So he goes, I want you to stay in this moment. And I did. I just sat there. I sat there and smiled with a smile on my face in silence for 10 minutes. And I was fully present and fully centered. And it wasn't just my head involved. It wasn't just a reminiscent where I gained sentiment. My emotions were there. My head was there. I could feel the presence in my body and in my spirit and my soul. And so, sometimes we look for those full moments. And, in this edgy time, the opportunity that they might actually be in front of us might be while we're home from work, might be while we're social distancing. But I know for me, so many times I lose being present in the moment because what I'm doing presently is I'm trying to be full. And so how I'm trying to be full is I'm obsessing over a certain project or thing I'm working on at work or at the church. Or I can be a dreamer, or I'm obsessing over something in the future, and I'm not in the present, I'm in the future. Or as a minister, I talk to so many people who ruminate and live with regret over the past, and so their present is being robbed by their mind and heart goes to the past. And, it can even be good things. It certainly can be unhealthy things. Sometimes we try to fill our present moments with unhealthy coping mechanisms. Some pick alcohol or food or social media. But folks, even religion, even our faith can be, I've seen so many people, I've done this, where my faith becomes a reason to not be present. And some people can just become sermon junkies or Bible junkies or worship junkies. And it can be this form of escape to not live presently. And so in the epistle of Peter, the writer of Peter says this small little phrase, and he's talking about our Christian spirituality. And he's saying your Christian spirituality, it's like a journey that you must keep God at the front of your consciousness. God must be right there on your consciousness. And if you don't like that word conscious or consciousness, just substitute it for the word awareness or presence or perspective. And what the writer of Peter is saying is, to go on your spiritual journey and to move in that, God needs to be right there at the front of your presence and awareness. Now, here's the reality of my life, and here's what's true about presence, and here's what's true about our humanity. Folks, we can't be fully present all the time. We're human beings. So I certainly haven't mastered this. So just because I'm sharing this, oh man, I have a long way to go. But this is about the journey and that we can journey to being fully present. Another thing that presence is that helps lead us to spiritual centeredness is presence is enough. And this is something that I've really had to learn. The way I'm wired, the way I'm even broken, some of my woundedness and brokenness, I'm sometimes not present because I have this fear or worry that if I'm present, it's just not going to be enough. It's not going to be fulfilling enough. So when I'm in that mode, I miss being present with the people I love, in some memory that could be created. And so what I want to say is a deep-centered spirituality is when you awaken and start experiencing that the present moment you are in is enough. And that's a journey there for some of us. And this can be interesting even spiritually and even in our faith. And you know what this is? This is, it's really leaving our small-mindedness, our small-heartedness. When we are trying to protect ourselves, or if I could use a psychological term, when we're insecure about our ego, we're either promoting it, right? I'm worried that I won't be worthy enough. So we start to promote our ego. We use these edge things. We use identifications. I'm this, I'm not that. You're this, you need to be that. We start using these things. And when we start experiencing an insecurity that we're not worthy, sometimes we accidentally promote our ego, all in a desperation to hold on to it. When we're desperate in feeling that we'll maybe be unworthy or experience unworthy, then we protect our ego, our small-mindedness, our small-heartedness. And sometimes religious faith can become, at least it was in my experience, small-minded and small-hearted. I noticed for me, when my spiritual faith became about us, them, it became about who's right, who's wrong, who's winning, who's losing. Is this the right group? Is this the wrong group? Is this the truth? Is this the untruth? Is this biblical? Is this unbiblical? When it became this binary either or, I had a religion of my insecure and small-minded ego that I either needed to promote, hey, this is the right way, or I needed to protect and defend, hey, your way is wrong. And at least my experience in that was I wasn't experiencing the peace, the calm, the groundedness, the centeredness that when you are fully present with God, that's what it's like. The last thing about presence is this. So presence is living in the now. Presence is enough. And the third thing I want to share about presence is its path. The path to presence is descending. It's falling there. Now, the old kind of Christianity I had, and my expression for a number of years was evangelicalism, and I'm not saying this is true of all people of that perspective, but my form of it, the Christianity I had, was a very victory Christianity. It was about claiming promises, standing on the promises of God, on the Word, what's truth, what's untruth. It was a very, in a sense, muscular Christianity. It was about power. And so for me, what that led, like in my second point, that led to a very edge-oriented Christian faith. Again, it's something I either had to promote, persuade, evangelize, protect, defend. But I detached from who I really was. And when I look at the story of Christian spirituality, the story of Christian spirituality is through the cross of Christ. What is part of our Christian tradition is Christ's crucifixion. This wasn't about ascending to something. Spirituality isn't about rising to something. It's not about a powerfulness, something you stand on. It seems to me anyway, and you certainly don't have to agree with me, it's actually the story of powerlessness. It's about letting go those edges. It's letting go who's right, who's wrong, who's in, who's out. It's letting go who's part of the right group, who's in the wrong group. It's letting go what's, this group identification. And some of us, and this was true for me, our small-mindedness and our small selves is so fragile that we have to hold onto a win-lose life and a win-lose faith and a right-wrong life, because this is what gives us certainty. This is what helps us stay in control. And folks, when your spirituality moves to a descend, where you no longer have to promote or protect the small-minded or small-hearted part of you, when you can just descend and let it go, oh my gosh, there is a freedom there. There is a presence like no other. And you have this freedom to love, to include. You have this freedom towards peace and calm in the midst of edginess, because you no longer look at the world and you no longer look at faith as win, lose, right, wrong, in, out, heaven, hell, saved, unsaved, truth, untruth. You're just present in that moment, and it's sort of effortless. It just flows. So maybe in this edgy time, maybe in this time of uncertainty, it's not trying to find more definition. It's not trying to find more certitude. It's not trying to keep our minds and our hearts small by either promoting something or protecting something. It's about being more present in the flow of Christ, and it's in the descent. Jesus gives this unusual parable in the Gospel of John, in John chapter 12, where he says, unless the small grain of wheat dies, it will stay just a small grain of wheat. Now, what does that mean? Well, for me, it means this. Unless the small-mindedness, the small-heartedness, the small perspective that David has, unless that small-mindedness, heart, the small David dies, David will just stay small. And so how that dies is our spirituality descends. We let go of those things and we move into full presence, that God's flow just comes forth. Now, this is a journey, and this is what I'm trying to share. Well, Lionel's going to come sing, and as Lionel comes, sings, you bring your heart there, and let me close our time with some prayer. And just still your heart, just still your mind. Just be in the silence right now. Do you need to grow in your noticer, in your presence? I hope you'll do that with non-judgment. Bringing your noticer out. If your noticer is a condemner, it never works. So just observe with non-judgment. Do you need to let go of some things in your ego? Is there something you're trying to promote? To make sure you image manage something? Is there something you're trying to prevent or protect? Well, your soul just knows you're not living at your center. You just know it. And I hope you'll embrace that Christian spirituality is about the descent. It's about descending, letting go of something. And when you're no longer desperate to hold on when you actually are willing to let something go, oh my gosh, you're free and you're present, especially as you flow in Christ. God, I pray that you would be with us in this anxious time. And I pray that this time would be an opportunity to be present, to be fully engaged with our loved ones, to let go of our need to be right or wrong, to be certain, but just to know that we can live in a win-win world and we can have a win-win faith and a win-win experience with you. May we be like Mary and know that good part where we are fully present with Christ. And may we descend center to that. In Jesus' name. Amen. Stay fully present as Lionel sings.
Your presence here among us, your kindness here among us, your patience here among us, your goodness here among us. As you hear this chorus this morning, I'd just like to say I hope that you hear the word us in it, not as us versus them, but as in us without limits, no exceptions. Globally, the global us. Your presence here among us, your kindness here among us, and your patience here among us, your goodness here among us. In your image we are made, Imago Dei, Imago Dei. Heart and spirit, mind and clay, Imago Dei, Imago Dei. Beneath the strata of my fear, in the quiet place you dwell, where my shadows disappear into your light, my deepest well, my truest self. In your image we are made, Imago Dei, Imago Dei. Heart and spirit, mind and clay, Imago Dei, Imago Dei. The term Imago Dei is a Latin term that means made in the image of God. And it's the basis for universal justice, for God's justice. And you know, if everyone is made in the image of God, if everyone is the Imago Dei, then we need to recognize the Imago Dei in all of our neighbors. We need to honor the Imago Dei in our neighbors. And we need to respect the Imago Dei in our neighbors. No exceptions. In your image we are made. Imago Dei, Imago Dei. Heart and spirit, mind and clay. Imago Dei, Imago Dei. Imago Dei.
Well, that's our service this morning. Thanks for joining us. My name's Liz Perez, if you don't know me, and I'm just so glad that you would join us. We're having people not only in Nashville join in on these services, but we're actually starting to hear from many of you from all over the state, the nation, so we're glad to have you. And I'm so grateful for some of the things that David's teaching on today. I know it's really helpful for me. In these times, I can feel, there's some days where I can feel like I'm actually doing pretty good, and then there's other days where I just feel like, and this new normal we're living in right now is really stressful, or can bring up some fear or anxiety for me. So if you're wanting to put some feet to some of the things that David's been teaching on, I'm going to start a class on Wednesday mornings. It's a meditation, mindfulness, some Christian practices that I think will be very calming and really help you with this idea of being centered. So you can join me on Wednesdays. And I do want to let you know we've got so many things going right now virtually. In fact, our Director of Operations, Travis Spa, put a new page on our website. You just go across the top and it's just for everything that we're doing online. So we have a lot happening on Sunday mornings. But every day of the week, we actually have something that you can join in on because we really want to stay connected and stay together through all of this. So do that. Join our newsletter. You can do that on our website, sparrowday.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram because these are all the ways that we're just continuing to communicate. And then I do want to let you know that also on our website, there's a place where you can give. It's safe, it's secure, and if in these times you can do that, that really helps us. During this time especially, we need you more than ever. We want to be sensitive. We realize this time is impacting a lot of people financially, but your support really makes a difference for us. So we're so glad to see you. We miss you. I miss you. I know David misses you. The staff team misses you. And also, if you want to just stay tuned, right as I close, there's just going to be this last piece that we're adding where David actually had this wonderful conversation with some Sparrow Day members about COVID-19 and how it's impacting them and how they're coping. So if you can stay tuned for a few more minutes, check this out too. Okay, see you next Sunday.